So we need to decide how many of each color you want to make, and then we have to calculate how much that weighs for that amount of yarn, and then we have to figure out how much alum we need to go with that.
Alum is what makes the mordant.
Yeah, and we're going to use cream of tartar too. But the ones that we're going to make with indigo, they don't need any of that. And when it's clear like this, usually I have all these gallon jugs, plastic jugs. I get as much as I can when it's clear and save it up for if in case I want to make something and it's not clear. We're going to get 3 more buckets of water and fill up this one and put it in this.
Now this is broomsedge that we're going to cut into manageable lengths.
So then I got these other 2 pieces. How much yarn we're going to dye, because the mordant that you use is dependent on the weight of the fiber, the dry weight of the fiber. Now here is the clever thing. I remember to weigh it before I put it in the bucket. Stir them a little bit easy, or they get all balled up. Then you're sorry. Now we're going to go in here and weigh our mordant. And that's when the mathematics is going to start.
So now we're measuring the alum based on the amount of yarn that we have.
Yeah.
So there's some math going on here. It's kind of scary.
I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly exact, so you can fudge like that a little bit. And then you just start piling it on here till it balances.
So before we add that, we're going to take the yarn out of the pot.
Yeah. Let me check this other pot just a little bit, because it's important that this pot doesn't get too hot. No, it's okay.
It smells like tea.
Yeah, it does. It smells good. A lot of the stuff that I cook smells good. See, it's good. And because this is doesn't care about air, you can do it like that. You can't do it indigo. Don't ever do that.
So now we're putting the alum
in the water. And then you're going to take the spoon and stir it up till it gets dissolved. This is real important if you're making a dye lot. We aren't doing that, but you need to learn how to do this. So you get hold of yours, Janet. And April, you get hold of yours. We're going to put them all in exactly at the same time. Because as soon as they hit the water, they're going to start taking up the mordant. So if you put them in one by one, the ones that, now you hold them over the pot, or I guess it won't matter if they drip on the ground. Don't drip it on your foot though, okay? It's kind of hot. Here's yours, Janet. Now you all get near the pot and plop them in there at exactly the same time. Just let them down slow and easy.
Ready?
Now don't drop them. Let them in easy. Yeah, there you go. See?
Now we're going to check the temperature.
Yeah. I don't want this to be much above 170. And see? Then see, throw that in the compost pile or something. So now we get them out of here. Now, you're having 2 yellow ones of 100% wool. And Janet, your yellow one is 100% wool?
Yes.
Okay. So we need 3 like this. And as before, when you put them in the dye pot, they all 3 have to go in at once. Yeah. So if you want a light yellow one, another minute or 2, I'd pull it out. I mean, it's not going to be that light. I mean, it's going to be not going to be that dark because you're going to rinse it, and you're going to. Some of that is not attached to the yarn yet, but a lot of it is. So you do it like this. You get it out there and you pinch it. See? and squeeze out the excess. You want one that color?
Yeah.
Springtime.
Yeah.
Like the color of daffodils.
Now we'll take them up here to the clothesline. They've been doing indigo dye for like 4,000 years or something. And it's only been in the last about 200 years that they even knew what was going on in there.
What did they think it was before?
Magic.
Magic.
Do you have ladybugs in your house?
No. Oh, really? You got a few?
There's one over here on the yard. There. I get them, put them in the greenhouse. Now we need 3/8 of an ounce, and not of ladybugs, excuse me, of this other stuff. So you can just get out of here, ladybug. Now I'll just tell you that if doing dye stuff with your bare hands would kill you, I'd done been dead. Back and we'll decide which one of the stock solutions we're going to use. Look at them. I got 3 little dabs.
Yeah.
Different jars.
Pretty blue.
You know, and see that sort of purplish sheen that it has?
Mm-hmm.
That's real characteristic of indigo. And you see it's got little dots on it. And you stick it in there for a certain amount of time.
To check the pH.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add the chemicals to adjust the pH to the alkaline.
See, now you hold it up to these pictures and you see which one it is. And then we're going to put in the powder that we just, the thiourea dioxide powder that we just measured. Why don't I set this over here where you can see it better? We'll sit right on top of it. That we just measured in the house. Like that. Then we'll stir it up. We hope not. And then we're going to put, we better look at the paper, make sure we get the right amount. I think it's 4 tablespoons of this. Is that what it is? Do you remember what it's in? We'll get the paper, because it's just like any other recipe. You know, read the paper, read the recipe, make sure you're doing it right. And you would think as many times as I've done this, I could remember it, but that's not true. Not too bad, but it's not the greatest. One, 2, 3. Now, and see, I don't pour it from up here, because if I did that, it would drag oxygen into the water. So we want to avoid that at all costs. No oxygen in the water.
Starving it of oxygen.
Yeah. Which is why I was thinking about putting it in a 5-gallon container, because there'd be less surface. Because all the time, there's a diffusion of anything from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. So if there's no oxygen free in the water and there's some in the air, it's going to always be pulling it in there.
Okay.
Now, we just stir it very gently. And then we have to wait for 15 minutes. But first we're going to see what the temperature is, so we don't get it too hot. And then, there's not going to be any lifting them up to see how they're doing, okay? That's not okay with indigo.
Because when we lift them up, we're going to be ready to let the oxygen hit them, right?
Yeah. Well, and if you lift them up a little bit and then put them down, you're putting oxygen in the water. That's not good either. You just have to let them. And see, you don't stir them big. You just poke at them a little bit. Okay. I'm going to take them out of the indigo pot. And I'm going to drag them up the side so that the water that runs down is running down the side of the pot instead of just splashing into the bucket.
And the longer it's in the air, the more color it's going to get? Or is this as much color?
Well, it's after
Isn't
the
that
first
pretty?
minute, that's about as colored as it's going to get. Wow. So that it doesn't get forgotten. I do this so somebody's really doing it and not just in some old dusty book.
Keeping it alive.
And I do it because most of what I use to do this with are weeds. Bona fide, in the weed book list, weeds. And people need to understand that just because they don't want it in their flower garden does not mean that there's not some value to it.
Official.
And that they would just look at it and find out about it. They would find out that it actually is a useful plant. And here's what you can do with it. Here is the beauty that you don't see when it pops up in your garden. But here it is. Or take some little scribbly bug and make some color out of it. To understand that out there in the world, that, and to help people want to take better care of what's out there. Because it's not just stuff that needs to go in the dump pile.
Not so they will become a natural dyer, but so they'll
They'll have
understand.
more, but they have more respect for the natural world.
Appreciation.
Yeah.